And we are live. Hello, good evening, and welcome to everyone in the chat. It always catches me off guard, Kim, when those intros we do stop. Does it throw you off as much as it throws me off? Because I'm like sat there.
A little bit, because I was having a little dance while
Yeah.
we were waiting.
And the first important thing I want to say before we get saying hello to everyone in the chat, because you've all showed up tonight, and that's absolutely awesome, is a massive thank you to Denny Pintard, my friend, who did the new intro music for the Action Popcast. All his links are in the video stream description, his Spotify, his YouTube. Please check him out. Brilliant musician. Me and Kim are massively grateful for what you did for us. So thank you so much. And right, let's get physical, as they say. Well, let's actually speak to the chat first. And sort of say, while I'm looking and bringing the chat up, because I really feel under-organised tonight, Kim, how have you actually been while I'm trying to struggle and get the right screens up, because I've just crashed everything on my computer? How have you been, mate?
Yeah, I've been okay. It's been a while, actually, since we've done an APC episode, which, apologies, everybody, that is my fault, generally, because my day job has been
blame her.
has been extremely challenging lately, and I've had some travel and stuff, so I've not been the most entertaining of people, so apologies that it's been so long, but I'm hoping that we can plan stuff and have them more regularly.
You've been pretty entertaining when you've been sat in airports raging because you don't like the hotel food and stuff, and it's been entertaining me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but do you know what? I've decided that I just don't like flying. I think I remember flying as a kid as like a fun experience, but doing it as an adult, I'm just like, God's sake, I've got to sit in this airport for like 2-3 hours. And I got to get on a stupid plane and people shove me because they want to get into their seats, and then shove me because they want to get off. And I'm just like, really? Like, can we a little bit of space? Just tiny bit. And then I get to hotels and everybody tells me it's nice, and then there's meant to be a restaurant, but the restaurant just serves like nachos and chips.
But I got strudel
because
waffles,
it's a different culture. Yeah, but because it's a different culture, everything closes at 5.
Wow. If you will go jet setting and international for your job, I don't know what to say. I mean, but hopefully there's been some enjoyment in the travel you've done. But, you know, if for nothing else, an experience. But shall we, everyone knows they've all seen me loads in the recent weeks. Oh, I'm Nick, I'm still here. My mouth's still all fuzzy and weird. But I'm fine. But I feel like we should probably say hello to the chat now. So shall I dive into that, Kim?
Yeah, see if they've missed me.
Questions in the chat. Well, I'm gonna go down from the start. So we have Tim Hayes. He says, I may have my front lawns cut, so I'll see how soon I can make it back to my computer. I have seen you've come back, Tim, but yes, great to see you this evening, Tim. We have Vader's girl, our cat, saying she's excited for the show. Oh, thank you so much. We have Stu, the Universal Toy Collector, saying hey to everybody. Who else do we have? We have a long time ago. Hello, thank you for coming along. Always good to see you, sir. We have TJC, who's saying evening all and doing the little drinky drink, clinky clink, which is always good. We've got this guy. He shows up to every stream I do. Do you know who this is, Kim?
I think he's a bit of a stalker.
Nah. We've got Monkey
lurker.
Boys Toys. Nah. Thanks for coming along, Monkey Boy. And thank you for all that. He did loads of. He's in the background. He's done loads of promoting for the show. So thank you so much. It was really kind of you.
Oh, thanks.
We have Travels on More with Jason. He says hi all. Hi, Jason. How are you, sir? Let's see. Just circulating through now. Let's have a. Oh, we have Jojo. Hello, Jojo. See, I bet Joe's really happy this evening because the main complaint she normally has with me is, why do you do your shows so late? Well, we're positively early tonight.
I know. To be fair, I'm grateful that we're early tonight because 10 o'clock and stuff is like my bedtime.
No, well, you know, there's a couple of reasons. There's a couple of big streams on tonight, and you know, Stu's appearing on one. I'm sorry I haven't got the link. There's a charity stream that I know Stu's appearing on tonight. So Stu, if you want to stick that in the description and the channel it's on at any point, sir, you are more than welcome. That's going on. That's going on tonight. So, and I thought, well, if we sort of try not to. We sort of try to not be near there because obviously I want to watch that. You know me, Kim. I sit up late every night watching YouTube. I'm terrible. It's 1, 2 in the morning before I go to bed normally. So yeah, but back to who's in the chat. We have Shabby Geek. Hello, Shabby. Good to see you, mate. Love seeing that you're here. And have we got anyone else? Oh yes. Oh, yes, the better half of the Universal Toy Collector herself, the lovely Georgie Norris. Hello, Georgie. She says hi, Nick and Kim, and all the chat. Very good to see you. We've got Sai, Manga Fandanga. He says, tip of the cap to all in the chat, which is a really great way of saying it, because whenever I come on a live stream, like chat, like people say APC or APD, and then I'm like, hi. And I feel like I'm putting 16 messages to say hello to everyone. I should just adopt something similar, I think. Because then I worry I miss people. We also have Bod Racing Palpatine. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Thank you so much for popping along.
Hello.
And I think that brings us... Okay. Sorry, my bad. Stu says, it's not a charity stream, but I post a link. You see what it is, Stu? Because I know you're appearing on there, and it's a big old stream. Because you do the amazing charity work, I think my head just got tied up with charity streams. That's probably what happened there. And someone else has just popped in. So let's absolutely do the appropriate thing and say special shout out to my friend Emma C. Good to see you, Emma. How are you? I hope you are well. Yeah, so we have quite the full house tonight, and I have something going on with my StreamYard. Something's going on with my StreamYard, so I do. Eh? What are you laughing at? What have I done?
Nothing. It's not you. It's just I'm laughing at the fact that, like, I just find it funny that I work in a digital world and yet we're horrendous with technology. I just find it funny. Sorry.
I've never said I'm good with technology. I fumble through it at the best of times.
But I have, and stuff still doesn't work smoothly, so I just find it funny.
I can make walls smooth and stuff, but I'd like computers and that. Nah, it's not really my bag. But anyway, we've said hello to everyone. Yeah, anyone out there, I don't know, those of you who stream, have you been having problems with StreamYard? Because I think StreamYard hates me. It just plays up for me. I think it's because I went on the StreamYard live chat the other night when they did a thing, and I gave them absolute grief for not bringing up the standard plan to 1080, but bringing up the more the more expensive plan to 4K. I reckon they've gone target him, give him hell. Probably not. But that's just kind of how it feels. But anyway, tonight's subject. Kim, what's tonight's subject? I'm just gonna drop this on you. Give us a description of tonight's. What's going on tonight, mate? What are we discussing? I mean, I think everyone knows, but go for your life.
Well, we've called it Let's Get Physical, but basically we're going to talk about, I suppose, the destruction and decimation of physical media in a very digital world, how we're all moving to digital platforms, but the physical side of media is falling behind. And actually, to be fair, when we did a little bit of research on this and everything and had a bit of blast from the past, I kind of find it a bit sad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, we say about the decline of physical media in the digital world, and I was looking the other day, and I used to have such a huge collection of like CDs and DVDs and everything. And if you go in my house now, like I've got some CDs in a folder that's behind the TV that I've condensed them all into, and I've got DVDs in there and a few on a shelf. But like, basically, if the power goes down, well, if my service goes out with, I was chatting actually to Vader's girl about this as well. You know, if the internet goes down, like, I would be like, a lot of my new albums and films and that, I've bought them all digitally. I'm just as bad for it. So I've gone into this, and it's kind of like, it's great having everything on the cloud and whatnot and all these downloads and that. But some of these, I know they say you can download it, but even still, like say your Netflix or whatever, if you can't afford it 1 month or something goes wrong, you can't view your downloads. Same with like your downloaded songs on Spotify. So looking back on it, and then me and Kim got chatting about all the things we used to do. And yeah, we had a really long discussion about stuff. So the first one I'm going to put to you, Kim, and I'll join in the chat if you have any sort of similar, yeah, well, you know, memories to me and Kim. But the first thing I want to say, Saturday night. So Saturday night right now, and even before I come on to watch this, I was watching the tennis on BBC iPlayer because big tennis fan, and for the Olympics anyway. And a Saturday night when I was a kid used to consist of, so I got 4 sisters because my parents didn't know what birth control was. Either that or they couldn't afford the TV license. And long and short of it goes, I would go down to what was Ritz Video, which later became Blockbuster Video. And I would wander down there with my sisters. And the mission would be I had to pick up, we had to pick up a film for us kids and then a more adult film that mum and dad would watch with my oldest sister later on. You know, and then the other 2 sisters would like wander down the other end of the road to like the Chinese takeaway and get the takeaway. And then it would become like a family thing. And this stuff's just, this stuff's just not really happening now, is it, Kim? Did you have similar, you had similar things to this you used to do as a kid, didn't you?
Yeah, so Saturday night for us, because we lived in a village, so just along from like our house in a little village but beside the shops, we had the Chinese, and then further down at the bottom was Blockbuster. So we would often like go into the Chinese, put in our order, and then we'd say we'd come back, and then we'd walk down to Blockbuster and normally get like, to be honest, it was a couple of films. Like my parents used to get what they wanted and we would get what we wanted, and then we would get something for the family. And I think my brother, stuff at the time, would get like rent a couple of games and stuff for his PlayStation and things like that. And then we'd walk back up to the Chinese and just go home and pick it up. And that was generally a weekend night for as long as I can remember.
And you consider we live like literally polar opposite ends of the country. So this was obviously, we were doing essentially the exact same thing. And so I imagine this went on all around the country. I'm just going to jump into a couple of the comments that have come up while we've just started the chat. So Pod Race and Pap says, HMV CEO said physical media purchases are on the up. I think that's a good thing. He also goes on to say a physical forgive me, my mouth is still a wreck from all of this, so my pronunciation's not the best anyway, but this is still messing me up. It says a physical 4K disc is better quality than 4K. That K's giving me issues, Kim. 4K streaming apparently, so I can believe that. What else have we got?
I'd love to see a side-by-side comparison.
I mean, I can believe that taking it from disc would probably be better quality. I mean, look, tonight we're on StreamYard and, I don't know, you look fuzzy to me. You're always at the mercy of the internet to a degree, aren't you? What sort of, how it's going, what the mice are doing in the router. But a long time ago says, I was store manager for a Blockbuster Video between 2005 and 2010. Netflix started a streaming service in 2007. My store was closed in 2010 and I was made redundant in 2013. Blockbuster was closed for good. Yeah, see, so to go on from what Martin said there, I've got a couple of things that I came across when we were sort of researching this. So in the UK, in the 90s, Blockbuster was originally Ritz Video, and at some point in the 90s, Ritz were bought out by Blockbuster, should I say. So it was Ritz, bought out by Blockbuster. There's a slide we've got which I can show here. Kim, you're already on it. Look at that. See, I see that yellow and that red, and that's proper nostalgia for me. That is Saturday night as a kid right there. And
to be fair, the picture on the slide is very nostalgic.
It is. Look at it. Look at that. I would love just a little time portal just to walk back in there now. Would be amazing. I still remember it. I still remember the colours, and you had like the kids section. And I don't know what your video store was like, Kim, but me and my sisters, we all had membership cards, and at the time they were like a laminated piece of card, and it had your name on it, but it also had an age restriction on it for the maximum of what you could rent. So mine was like I could only rent up to like PG at the time, because this was before the 12 rating even came in the UK. So. But I had an older sister who my dad lied to the shop, and they thought she was 18, even though she was only 16. So she could get what we wanted anyway. But yeah, just to go into the notes I got about Blockbuster, some notes here I've got to say Blockbuster's late entry into the online rental market, and the fact that was one of the reasons for their decline. And apparently they had an opportunity to acquire Netflix in 2000 for $50 million, but they declined because they didn't think it was going to take off. Well, didn't it?
Bet they're kicking themselves now.
Yeah, but I mean, look back to the last APC we did when, like, you know, MySpace had the opportunity to purchase Facebook for, what was it? I think that was for something small, like $50 million. And they're like, no, it won't take. So, you know, people, you know, they make their choices, they make their decisions, and look, here we are in this physical world. So, in this digital world, no longer physical. So, yeah, just looking at that, Kim, we've said about the nostalgia of Ritz. Is there any sort of thing that really jumps out in your head that you remember from going to the video store? Anything that you like, little memories and things?
So I never went, so we never really had Ritz. Ritz wasn't a thing for me as a kid, so I was really just a Blockbuster place. Do you know the only thing that I really remember about Blockbuster, other than the fact that you used to go in and you could... I remember moving from like videos to DVDs and stuff in Blockbuster. But you know the one thing that used to really annoy me was they used to have all the snacks and stuff like that and stuff like this right at the till, and you used to always want to get the snacks, but you sat there being like, I'm not paying like a tenner for a bag of popcorn. I remember really expensive.
My mum and dad were always like, no, we're not buying the sweets or the popcorn from Ritz or later Blockbuster. It's too expensive. So they'd get stuff at like Tesco or wherever. And but you'd always go in there, and it was always tempting because, I don't know, even though it was probably just as good as what you had at home, was something about wanting what was there, you know. And another thing that used to happen in the 90s as well is we had a friend who was a manager of Ritz and then later Blockbuster, a lady called Marie. She's no longer with us. Rest in peace, Marie. She was a lovely lady. But, you know, they used to have all the graphics that you would stick in the window for all the upcoming releases and stuff and whatnot, like for films and that. When they started doing rentals for computer games, like back in the day of the Mega Drive, they had a load of like Sonic graphics that they would stick in the window. And I got given all of those when they finished with them. So in my bedroom window at home, I had Sonic, but I never quite sussed the trick of like getting the air bubbles out of it. So it looked terrible. But I used to love that. So I used to get like all the promo posters and stuff from Marie. So that was really cool. I had like a really cool Men in Black cardboard cutout, which I loved. I was a little bit older at the time, but who didn't love Men in Black back then? So there's other sort of memories associated to it. I'm just going to have a little look at the chat quickly, see what we've got.
Do you know what? I do remember when they finally brought in the post box at Blockbuster, and I thought this was amazing because it meant I didn't have to actually physically go into the store. Like, my mum used to literally just stop right outside Blockbuster and like throw me out the car to put the videos into the post box.
Oh,
and jump back in the car and like shoot off.
back in the day, I mean, a long, long time ago, you'll remember this, but you had the quick drop boxes that you would post your videos in, or later your DVDs, but that you didn't have that originally. So you physically had to take them back. And I can remember my sister and one of her friends renting a video once, and they were so late they left it round. My sister left it round her friend's house, and I can remember. But going back to the 90s, they accrued a fee of something like £40 in late fees. I remember this being like a right to do between my parents and their parents as to who had to pay it. I remember my dad being like, we could have bloody brought the video. So the good old days of late fees. But no, you were lucky. You only have a new Blockbuster with the quick drop. We didn't have that when I started because I'm just that little bit older than you. Only a tiny bit. Shabby Geek says, Martin got Blockbuster closed down. Oh, we can't blame Martin for that, I don't think. But it goes on to say, on the plus side, it was good knowledge to gain for movie quizzes. Absolutely, because I know my friend Marie used to sit in there and like she just, once she'd done whatever she had to do work-wise, she would sit and watch films all day. I must admit that once we got to know Marie, my dad actually taught her to drive because he was a driving instructor. That's how we got to know her. We actually ended up not paying for our rentals, so that was like the little perk. That was amazing. What's Jason say? Me and my brother used to go into Blockbuster in the evening, and we used to come back from when we used to come back from a day trip out before we went home. Yeah, going to Blockbuster was a staple, man, of growing up. You know. Tim says Walmart still sells DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks, but Best Buy stopped selling physical media altogether. Wow. They've actually stopped selling physical media. That's crazy.
That is crazy. I don't think we've got anywhere that stopped doing that.
No, I can't think of anywhere they've actually stopped, but it doesn't shock me one bit. Jojo, I didn't do it with my family, but with my best mate, we used to get a video from Blockbuster and a takeaway on a Saturday night before we were old enough to go out drinking. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and I know we can still order. The thing is now, well, not where I live, because I live in the arse end of nowhere, and it's too. I'd have the quantity of food I have to order to get like Deliveroo or Just Eat to deliver to me is just ridiculous. But you can still do it. You can still like get the food in, and you know, go on whatever your preferred streaming platform is. But it just doesn't have that. It just doesn't feel like it has that occasion to it anymore, you know. There's and also the other thing comes from Blockbuster Video. I remember as a teenager, I was quite lucky. I got a DVD player quite early doors because I got like a small inheritance. So responsibly, I went straight out and brought a DVD player, as you do. I remember buying that and Gladiator and Blade on DVD. And but I found that Blockbuster used to do the ex-rental copies of the DVDs, so I used to go in there and like buy all those up. I had like an awesome DVD collection because earlier on in the chat, Monkey Boy was saying, I rely 100% on physical media. I want to own actual things. I don't use any streaming platforms anymore. See, I have to say, fair play to you, mate. I mean, it's so common to me now. I mean, I spend my life watching. I was saying to Carla the other day, Mrs. APD, I was saying, I don't know why we pay for Sky anymore, because to be honest with you, I spend my whole time watching bloody YouTube. And we've got Netflix again at the moment because I got a 2-month free trial through Sky. So, yeah. So that's sort of that's sort of an early memory I have of things. Going into other points, physical media collections, Kim. I said about buying up the DVDs. Did you? When I was younger, CDs, DVDs, tape, cassettes. I've always been a guy who liked to collect a set, and my earliest memory was when I was collecting the James Bond films. And if you collected them all, and the spines of the videos made up a picture of like all the different James Bonds. I remember being gutted that before I could finish that, they changed the design of the video cases, but it's by the by. But I always, and especially when I was a teenager, and we will go into MP3 players in a bit, but I always was really proud of my CD collection in the CD rack. I was always proud of initially my VHS collection, then leading on to my DVD collection. Were you the same in any way in that respect? Was there anything? Did you like to sort of? I like to have box sets and things, and something about it. I enjoyed collecting. It was almost like me collecting my toys. I'm just a collector of stuff, I guess.
No, not really of physical media and stuff. The only thing that I actually probably collected from a video perspective was when I was a kid, I was really big into the Land Before Time. So I used to get every single Land Before Time film that came out. And then not actually that long ago, I got to the stage of going, there must be more that I'm just not aware of. And I ended up buying them all on DVD. And they've released 2 more since then. And that was really the only one that I kind of bought each version of.
I used to like to try and organize. I didn't do alphabetical order with my films or CDs. I used to try and sort of go genre, but then it could get a little bit messy. And I was almost the same with my computer games as well, because we're saying about renting. I mean, I can remember when Blockbuster, possibly Ritz started it and Blockbuster carried it on. It's a long time ago. Dive back into the old memory. But when they started doing computer games, that was incredible, because getting a computer game was like a twice-a-year thing, birthday and Christmas. So that was always good. But as for collecting the physical media and stuff, no, I've always been. It's a shame now, because I've got one shelf in my house full of DVDs, and it's got my Doctor Who DVDs on it, and like Life on Mars, Ashes to Ashes, Luther, a few box sets, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy. Have I got Sons of Anarchy? No, I'm talking bollocks. I haven't got Sons of Anarchy on DVD. We stream that. I don't know why I thought I had Sons of Anarchy on DVD. But yeah, I like it. But then also, living seems to be becoming smaller as well. Like new builds seem smaller. So not only is there the convenience of streaming, but I guess when you haven't got as much room, not having to have as much, take up as much space, because like the first house me and Carla moved into, used to walk in, it was a very tiny 1-bedroom house. You walk in the front door, there was our TV unit, and there was like a stack of DVDs and a stack of CDs, and streaming wasn't really prevalent then. So I guess looking like now, I guess it's a space thing as well. I mean, do you find it convenient, Kim, having the not having to use up as much space?
No. To be fair, like we do have the space because we've like created cupboard space and specifics for that sort of thing. But as much as I do use a lot of streaming services, I actually find I prefer streaming services for like TV series, but I probably prefer physical media for like films, not so much for TV series, because it more annoys me, because when you get a TV series in physical form, it means you've got to constantly get up and down to change discs out, because you maybe only get like 2 episodes per disc. And I know that's really lazy, but it's really annoying. Whereas with a film, you just put one, like it's just in, and you've got like 2 hours worth of film, and it's fine. And I think it's just
totally
because
get that.
we're so used to binge watching now, and you don't get that opportunity when you have a TV show in physical media.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, well, you know, me and Carla recently watched through all of Ashes, Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes, the BBC series again. Anyway, and if you haven't watched it, I love it. Go and watch it. I know Jojo in the chats recently watched through it again as well. But we've got them all on DVD. But because they were on whatever streaming service Carla found, why would you bother to go physically, like you say, why would you bother to go put the DVD in? Because you could just... I think we're definitely getting lazier as human beings. And also...
There's one comment, actually, which I think is pretty good while we're talking about it.
Go for it.
And he said, like, the biggest part of physical media, I miss all the extra features used to get, like the makings of and director commentary and concept art. That's a really good point, because you forget that when you put DVDs or Blu-rays and stuff into them, that you do get all that extra stuff, and you can like. I like that there's always like two different types of commentary though. Like you get the ones that are their director's cut where it's a bit more serious, and then you get the ones that have got the actors in it who make a bit more of a laugh about what's actually happened, and they talk about all the bloopers that happen throughout the film, which I quite like to watch. But no, it's a really good point. We just don't get that stuff because we're not using physical media anymore. I suppose you could YouTube it, but it's not the same.
Well, look back to when we did the Nightmare Before Christmas podcast. I actually went and watched all the special features of the DVD on YouTube because it was easier than putting my DVD in the DVD player. So there is that. But I mean, yeah, no, that is a really good point because, yeah, I used to always watch the special features. One of my favourite films ever not one of my favourite films, it is up there with top films, From Dusk Till Dawn, but I remember when they released a 2-disc set of it, and it was just absolutely rammed to the brim with extra content, there was an extra film which was like a full feature-length film about the making and production of it called Full Tilt Boogie, and it had really cool slides and pictures and hidden menus in it, like Easter eggs. Do you remember DVD Easter eggs? You could find things in the DVD menus. Really cool ones in Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. If you wait long enough on one of the screens, like the rocket comes up and then you press it, and I think you can get music videos of the songs in the film. And I used to love looking for all that. And of course now, yeah, we don't really do that, do we? So
well, it's also like we were watching something like, and it was like claymation and stuff. It was a couple of films, but when you put in the DVD, there actually was short films of like what they'd taken inspiration from. So like even with The Nightmare Before Christmas, if you actually have the disc, it will show you Vincent.
Is it Frankenweenie?
Which was the original. No, Frankenweenie was part of that, but the main one was Vincent. Vincent was his first like short film. But unless you go into the special features of films like that, you don't realize, and then you're like, oh, so that's where all that came from, and you see stuff that otherwise you just wouldn't see.
I just want to bring up this comment here. Denny Pintard, the composer, he says, "Bonjour, guys." Denny is French. When he speaks, you fall in love with him. He's got the best voice ever. Denny has. He speaks. Anyway, he says, "Bonjour, guys. Thank you for the greeting and the mention on your great live show. Great to see you." Well, thank you for coming along, Denny, and thank you again for the composition of the music. We absolutely loved it. Good to see you in the chat, sir. So, and as I say, go listen to his stuff. Brilliant composer. And that's a nice sort of segue here to go back to the music side of things. I want to jump back a little bit further. So we've gone to DVDs, but obviously, let's get on the music side of it. Let's go back. Obviously, there's people here in the chat who would have been... Now, I'm not saying this to take the mick, especially not out of people like Stu, the Universal Toy Collector, who said, "I still have physical media, but I find it too physical to use, so I use the button and stream lol." But there are people in the chat who... there's people in the chat who... I only ever had one single on vinyl, and that was TURTLE Power from the 1990s Turtle film. Dad had
really,
lots
we're bringing
of
up
records.
Turtles already.
I'm
never going to get away from Turtles, am I?
You're never going to get away from Turtles. It's like the Kevin Bacon thing, you're only ever 7 steps away or whatever it is from the Turtles, But for me, singles were on tape cassette, because CDs were certainly out, because I'm a 90s child. I was born in 84, so by the time I was sort of around getting singles and things, it was far cheaper for me to buy the tape cassette. And initially, I didn't have a Discman, a disc player, portable disc player. I had a Walkman. So what comes of that is, do you remember, Kim, did you ever do this, or are you just that little bit too young? And I'm sure there's people here in the chat who definitely did this when they got their hi-fis or their little stereos and that, recording the UK top 40, or even in America, whatever your charts were, I'm sure you must have done the same in America or whatever countries you're watching from, and actually listening to the live chart show and stopping and pausing and recording, so you'd make your own little mix, so you didn't have to buy the singles. You get a tape and you would make your own. You would record your singles for the week, and you'd sort of try. It's in the UK. We had a DJ called Dr. Fox, and there's people in the UK who will definitely remember Dr. Fox, and he would do the UK top 40. And I say I did. Actually, my sister used to do it, and I used to steal the tape. But anyone else? Kim, did you do that? Did you listen to the top 40 and pause when the DJ was talking and try and time it just right so that you had almost just the right amount of pause between the next song? I feel if people haven't done that, they missed out.
I didn't really do it for the top 40 and stuff like that. My brother definitely did that sort of thing. I was more like, I used to get CDs, and because our family car only took cassette tapes, you tried to record everything off your albums and CDs that you got onto the cassette tape, but you'd have to time it just right. The one song finished just on one side of the tape, and then you got it just right to flip it over. And then instead of like getting the tape stopping halfway through the song, and you're like, no, how am I going to figure that out on the other side?
Whoa. Did you not fix so the way we used to get around this, if you were taking a CD, recording a CD onto tape, is you would record into the song that you were inevitably going to have a song where it was going to stop halfway through, quarter way, whatever way through. So the magic trick was that what you did then was you jumped back to that song and you started that song again on the next side. So if you did that, you always had one song on there where you'd get like part of the song, and then when you flipped it over to the other side, you'd then get that song start from the scratch. Did you used to leave a gap?
No, do you know what? We didn't start it from scratch again. My brother and I figured out, we did what all the artists did back in the day. We just faded it out at the end, and then we started the song again. So like the end of the tape, the song would just fade out. And I have to laugh. I have to laugh because I saw a meme the other day when they talked about 80s music and 90s music, when all they did was turn the volume down at the end of a song. They didn't end the song, they just turned the volume down.
Yeah, man.
Just fade out.
Yeah, no. We would do that. We would do that on the old. My sisters and I, in my room, we both had what was called a ghetto blaster. You know, I just had a tape one, but my sisters had one with a CD and 2 tape decks on it. So they could record their own, they borrow CDs, make their own things and whatnot. But Dad had like this amazing hi-fi downstairs. My dad used to go mental because it had all the balances on it for all your levels and everything. Of course, me being a little dickhead kid used to go in and just mess about with the levels. And my dad would go, who's been messing about with a stereo again? Because he used to come in. He was always proud of his music collection. you know, he had all his vinyls underneath the unit, and then on top he had all his CDs, and he had like these stacking plastic CD racks that almost built like a housing around it. And he would have all his big Queen fan, all his Queen CDs, and then all his other genres of stuff. Taping off the Manga Fandanga, taping off the radio was a skill. Yeah, it was a skill. And also pirating CDs for your friends who were fortunate enough to have CDs onto tape was a skill as well. Stu says, the DJs always talk during the beginning and ending of the song. That was to prevent people recording due to licensing. You know, that doesn't surprise me, but, you know, especially when I was a teenager, mate, and I only had like a few quid a week from a paper round. And with that few quid, I had to buy a pack of Amber Leaf, which was 12.5 grams of tobacco, which came with a pack of 50 Rizzlers, pay for bus and whatever else I wanted, and try and buy some beers. You had to tolerate the talking at the end, because otherwise you wouldn't get your cigarettes.
Kids these days will never understand
They will never
struggle.
know the true struggle. Jojo here. Still waiting for you to find the missing Torchwood DVD so I can borrow it. Right. Context to this. I lent Jojo the box set of Torchwood. She was watching it. There was a DVD missing from it. I couldn't find the DVD. Turns out it was in another DVD player. I found it. She took so long to come round and get it that I've now lost the DVD again. So I blame it on Joe. And I said to just watch it on iPlayer. She's like, I haven't got a TV license. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. But, you know, just some context to that. What's Antonio say? That's for sure. Quality is better with physical. Oh, and that's to Martin's comment. 4K physical media has a much better picture sound quality than 4K streaming. Watched June on streaming, then watched it again on disc, and it was night and day. Yeah, no, I can believe that. See, me and Monkey Boy were talking a while ago, and I have no issues with people who upgrade their media collections at all, because some people really love it. But I've sort of I'm reluctant to replace any of the physical the small physical media collection I've got now. I don't want to buy films I've already got again, because what are you laughing at, Kim? What have I said? What have I done? What comments here? Nick, stop twitching. I am twitching my leg. Yeah, I am twitching my leg. Sorry about that.
I've been just trying to ignore it, but Stu called it out, so not bad.
Can you hear it?
No, but I can see your body jittering up and down. I've just been trying to ignore it, but Stu decided to call you out.
Joe has to work me sometimes. She tells me off for it as well. I can't help it. I twitch my leg. It's like a nervous thing. I get really nervous when I come on these streams, believe it or not. My heart's beating the whole way through, man. So what can I say? Well, at least you can't hear it. This chair's not too squeaky. I hope it's not. This is going to be a nightmare to edit.
It's not squeaky. You're fine.
That's good. We have had G-Force join us. Hey, APD and Kim. And he says, hey Martin, Cat, Tim, Shabby, Stu, Jason, Palps, TJC, Antonio, and Jojo. And I'm sure he's saying hey to absolutely everyone else as well. Pod Race and Palps goes on to say, the Lord of the Rings special features are amazing. Well worth anyone's time. Yeah, and that's going back to what we were saying. If you're streaming it, I guess you're not going to be seeing those features. But yeah, the musical side of it, I mean, I can remember my sister getting a Discman one birthday. I don't know if this was around 95, 96. I remember it being really, really expensive. My mum and dad paid a fortune for it. And that was all she wanted. And I remember there was a line out on it, but it was redundant to her because she already had like the stereo thing in her room. But my problem with when I upgraded from Discman, from Walkman to Discman was, Kim, did you ever have a Discman, a portable CD player? They had this like 20-second of anti-shock memory in them, so that when you were walking and whatnot, or they were bumping around, it would take in so much of the song and give you a buffer so that it didn't skip. It was never long enough, mate. Never long enough. I think my one had like 20 seconds on it, so you were good for like 20 seconds. But if you were walking or riding a bike or it was in your backpack, it would judder along. And the worst one was if I was going out with a girl who lived the other side of the county, but I could get a train there, and you would sit it on the table of, if you try and get a chair on the train with one of the tables, and if you were lucky, you could sit it there and it wouldn't judder. So ultimately, I got so annoyed with it, I went back to Walkmans because it just didn't skip. But then, of course, what we will go into, which on these pictures, eventually I ended up with iPods and things. But yeah, I was waffling there. Kim, did you have a Discman player? I sort of carried on talking then.
I didn't have a Discman, but I had a Walkman. The only memories I have of Walkmans are making sure you wore a jacket where you could actually physically fit it into your pocket.
That was a real struggle.
Yes. And I don't know about anybody
Some have
else.
belt clips,
but,
though.
Yeah. And obviously skater jeans with massive pockets were useful, but... And I don't know about anybody else, but I know it definitely happened to us. Like when my Walkman was on its last legs and it had obviously been battered, sometimes it would stop playing the disc, so you literally had to whack it with your hand and then it would fix itself and start playing again.
I can remember one of you saying about pockets and things. One of my Walkmans had an actual physical clip on it, so you could clip it on your belt. But I always thought I looked a bit stupid with that, so I didn't like to do that. But it broke off anyway by accident. So yeah. Jojo saying, "Hi, Denny. It's Joe from work." There you go. The world's connecting and getting smaller. I'm just having a quick flick through the comments. Pod Racing Pap says, "I have about 20 copies of Empire Strikes Back on various media." Yeah, man. I mean, I say there's lots of people who are really happy to upgrade their collections, but I think sound always bugs me. I like the improvement of audio quality and things, but picture-wise, I just think my eyesight's a little bit crap. So I don't know. It's like when we got our new TV, I had to turn a setting off on it because it looked like it was recorded on a camcorder, and the picture looked shaky and weird to me. And I turned it off, and now it looks like a normal TV again. I forget what it's called, but that really threw me when I got that.
Do you know what's really funny about that? Like, it's like it's basically like a motion picture part thing. But do you know what's really funny? Like our family friend is he installs TVs, and basically him and all of his colleagues, every time they install a TV, they switch that setting off because everybody complains
it's horrible,
about it.
Man.
But then I've switched it off on certain things. There's certain things I've switched it off on, and then it makes it look as if the people are doing stuff in slow motion. And it's weird. So I've had to switch it back on for certain shows.
I bought my new TV on the last Black Friday sales, and I was really excited because I was going to watch Doctor Who, and I did watching Doctor Who I watched it in 4K on it and everything, all exciting. Got a 4K TV now, all the David Tennant specials that they did. And I remember I found the picture jarring. The first episode, it just drove me absolutely nuts, man. And then when I figured out how to turn it off, and a few people told me what it was, and I turned it off, I watched it again. I was like, oh, that's so much better. It looks like a TV again. But jumping back to the physical media side of things, pre-CD, pre-DVD, you know, everyone in this chat will know. Well, I get to see Antonio there saying about when I come to the UK, I'm definitely doing some record shopping. I guess with vinyls, you didn't have to rewind; you just had to skip the needle. But we've already said about the timing of recording just right, the art of doing that. But rewinding, Kim, do you remember the agony of wanting to watch a film and you go, or a tape, and you would go to it, and the last person who watched it hadn't rewound it? Do you remember that? That used to drive me absolutely nuts.
It used to drive me insane, and then you had to play the game with your video player of like rewind, stop, rewind, stop, rewind, stop, like multiple times, and then it would do super rewind. Like, you couldn't just press it and it would do like the super rewind. You had to like make like almost like trick it to do that. Like, we had to do like rewind, stop, and then rewind, and then it would start to do the really like fast whiz and rewind back really quickly. But it was such a pain to get to do it.
I remember my dad getting a VHS player that was all singing, all dancing back late 90s pre-DVD players. And I can remember it had Video Plus on it, which was that thing which was terrible. We used to get the codes out of the TV guide and dial it in, and it would record shows for you. Sort of, this is pre Sky Plus or whatever our American cousins use. Is it TiVo you use in the States to record your shows and whatnot? I'm sure there's other services. But this had a super rewind on it that you press, and my dad had it in his head that if you use this, it would ruin the tapes. And he'd almost sort of go mad at you if you used it. He's like, "No, that would damage the tapes. I've heard that would damage the tapes." And so, yeah, I guess the only good thing was trailers on VHSs were always really cool. Being a Disney kid, I was a proper Disney kid. I used to love all the trailers on the Disney DVDs and whatnot. But I know there were trailers on DVDs, which were great. You'd watch them the first time, but some DVDs, did you ever come across this on DVDs, Kim? There were some DVDs where you couldn't skip the trailers. It wouldn't let you skip them.
Yes.
Oh, and you couldn't fast forward them either.
I also, No, but I also find that, like, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, the trailers and stuff on DVDs just, they were never as exciting as the stuff you got on tapes. I don't know why. I don't know if I don't know if we just grew impatient, or because we were starting to get things like the internet and stuff, like we already knew what was coming out, so we weren't really using DVDs to tell us what was coming out like we would use videos for.
Well, saying about, though, tape players, something we had in our house, I'm just going to bring up this notes I got here. So in our house, my dad would always upgrade. One thing, my dad always liked his TVs to be reasonably good and his video players and whatnot. Shame I haven't got a picture of it, but I can remember we had this old player at the back and we only had one film, and it was a Betamax player. Do you know what Betamax is, Kim? Okay, so Betamax was like the rival format to VHS, and basically VHS won the battle. VHS became the dominant format and took off. But my dad always swore that Betamax was the superior format. What's my note? It says Betamax war, a format war between VHS and Sony's Betamax during the late 70s and early 80s, with VHS emerging as the dominant format. And they were slightly different. They had like a bigger cog with a tape, and they're slightly smaller tapes. And we only had one film on Betamax. I don't know why my dad kept it. He'd never get rid of it. I suspect he's probably still got it in storage. We had Mary Poppins on it. So if we wanted to watch Mary Poppins as a kid, you could plug the Betamax player in. And if I recall, it was top loading. Like, rather than like sliding it in conventionally at the front, you press the thing and like a thing come up on the, like a latch came up on the top and you slid it in. So anyone else in the chat, did anyone have a Betamax player? I'm just intrigued. Because, I mean, Betamax was really a little bit too early for me. It's only because my dad owned one. Just to say hello here to Gojitron. He says, I listen to American Top 40 every Sunday morning until Casey Kasem retired. Oh, cool. So, yeah, it's good to see that these things, you know, humans all do the same things wherever we are in the world. Let's have another look through the comments. This one here. Oh, yeah, Antonio. Who had a Laserdisc player? That was a crazy media form. I've got some notes on Laserdisc players. Kim, are you aware of what Laserdiscs were?
No, but I'm young.
Okay, so they were like... okay, so there were films on discs, and these discs were massive. They were like vinyl record size. I haven't got a lot of notes on them, but the note I've got here is they first came out in 1978 and ceased production in the early 2000s, so just in case it came out. But I believe that somehow they weren't actually digital, they were analog somehow in their design. I'm sorry that I don't know the facts on it, but they were much higher quality than VHS. But lots of people... I've seen something on YouTube, a documentary on YouTube about them before. Those who followed them were very passionate about them, and they released them for quite a few, as it says there, 78 to the 2000s. So there was like a dedicated following of people who had these, but it's not something I ever had. But what was cool about them is I believe, and perhaps Antonio can fill us in here, I believe they had special features on them as well, similar to what we got to know on the DVDs and whatnot, sort of the originator of that. But what was cool about them was, like vinyls, you know, CDs are cool, physical media is cool, and we'll go into this. One thing we don't get with digital downloads now is the physical artwork. I mean, that's one of the things I used to like to collect. So just going into that briefly, do you miss that a little bit, Kim? The actual physical... So owning the physical item and having the artwork.
I was never bothered about the artwork on like CDs and stuff like that. However, we're bigger on the artwork on vinyls more than anything, because obviously my dad's got first editions of stuff like that, like so some of the original artwork. He's even still got vinyls and stuff that came in the actual little paper cases when he used to go to the record store as a kid. And actually the artwork wasn't necessarily on the case, but it was actually on the label. So I think for me, CDs and DVDs and stuff, I'm not really bothered about the artwork. I find artwork is more sophisticated on vinyl cases. So for me, it was about the vinyl artwork more than it was any other type of media artwork.
Yeah, before I converted this room into a toilet cubicle, as people have started to call it, because apparently it's like a toilet cubicle. I used to just like be a storage room just full of crap, but I had a load of Motorhead vinyls just on the wall here, in like these special cases you could put vinyls into, and it would frame them, but then you could clip them open and slide the vinyl out. And the only reason I had those was because the artwork was amazing on them. That was the thing with vinyls. You had that beautiful artwork, which was like, I've seen loads of people put vinyls up as artwork in their houses. Incredible artwork.
My dad has taken like scans and pictures of vinyl artwork, and then it's got blown up, and then it's put it into picture frames and stuff and put it in the house. But like we got a really nice wooden sideboard and stuff, but it was specifically created and designed to hold all his vinyls. So he's got like, but he's also got a bit for like tapes, and then there's stuff for vinyls, and then for smaller, like your smaller size vinyls, he's even got minis and stuff in there as well. And it's but he's been spending quite a lot of time putting all these like special like cover protectors and stuff on all of his vinyls and stuff now. It's quite funny because like my friend's husband now has a man chat with my dad, and all they do is like send each other basically, have you listened to this? Have you listened to this? Have you listened to this? And they each seem to like increase their vinyl collections off of each other's recommendations.
But to be fair, the first and only time I've ever spoke to your dad, after he picked my brains on some plastering questions, which is my trade, we then started talking about music. And if you recall, me and your dad had about a 40-minute conversation about what albums I should listen to, what gigs I should go and see. And your dad was quite shocked that I liked some of these obscure bands. I knew of these obscure bands that he liked and was going to see. I think he was a bit impressed by that.
Yeah, my dad's quite... he goes down YouTube rabbit holes, do you know that? And just finds like really weird
Carla's dad's musical taste is so vast, and he's forever telling me about new...
Yeah.
He reminds me of your dad in that sense. So all the bands that your dad was impressed I knew, I remember saying to him, it's because Carla's dad is like... I worked with him for like 5-6 years. He used to like put these songs on for me to listen to, digitally, might I say, through his iPod, and not physical media. I'm just having a quick look now through some of the comments. TJC, we also had a pirate station, but that played all the top club tracks. I remember pirate radio stations. Antonio says, fortunately for me, the radio never really played music I liked. It was all hunting the music stores for stuff we did. We used to road trip to get new records. Yeah, man. So this is going to go into something I'm going to chat about in a minute. And G says, we had PYX 106, classic rock, Edge 96 90s, Fly 92 top 40. I've heard of none of these, but I assume other Americans in the chat may be aware of these, or I don't know if they're state by state or if they're countrywide. See, in the UK, we're so small, like we literally have pretty much the same radio stations all across, but America's so big, so I don't know how they travel across the country as such. Let me have a look. Okay, Antonio, thanks for coming along, man. Thank you so much. Antonio says, I know he's just leaving, but he says, the Betamax was better, just lacked the promotional momentum, plus it was more expensive. And Jason goes on to say, Betamax was the best. I remember watching a cowboy 3D film on it when I was 6. So 1979. Tim says he never had a Laserdisc player, but had a DVD player. Yep. DVD players were cool. Let's see if we can jump through these. Joe, the Next Generation Collector's set has pictures on the DVD spines of all the different ships in the series. Oh dear, what else have we got? I will just say, if we do skip past any of your comments, I'm reading them. We've just got so much to go through, and we do appreciate them. We see you. We appreciate you. Gojitron says, and I remember 8-track. I had the original Star Wars soundtrack on 8-track in 77. 8-track. No, I'm aware of what 8-track were. I think now you all can laugh at me. I'm pretty sure they were like a cartridge thing that had the tape inside of them. I'm sure Goji will correct me. Very much before my time. What I have heard is they were quite inconsistent and could be a bit jumpy. I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if that is the case, but I'm sure someone will tell me. And let's have a look. What else have we got? No, I think we're there on the comments. We've come on down through. So I guess we're sort of talking about all our memories of physical stuff. I'll just to quickly touch on. I'm shaking my leg again, Stu. You've made me aware of shaking my leg. You've given me like a you've given me a complex about it now, man. Thank you, Stu. I guess obviously the other physical media thing that was big for me, obviously gone over. Dad had his records, VHSs, cassette tapes, DVDs. Me and Carla got a bit into the Blu-ray thing, but as a kid, obviously the other physical media thing was computer games. I was a Sega kid, so the physical cartridges, and I can't speak too much on online gaming. I have to fail you all a bit on that because I've never really been into it. I know we've got TJC in here, and I think a couple of people in here do play games online. I certainly think Manga Fandango does. I think what worries me about not owning the physical media for that, now I could be speaking completely wrong, but from what I understand is if you download the game on your Xbox or your PlayStation account, please correct me, people. If you don't own a physical copy, and for some reason your account gets hacked, banned, deleted, whatever, all that money you've spent is gone and you don't have the game anymore. And tell me if I'm wrong, people, but that's one of the things that would put me off of it. Because wasn't there a PlayStation or an Xbox that was released recently that doesn't even have a disc drive? And I was like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about that. How would you feel about that, Kim, having a games console where everything was down? I know we use Netflix and stuff and that, but the musical sources, games and that are so expensive. And I also collect some of the old vintage retro games that I've still got in my collection. How would you feel about that, Kim, having fully downloadable games? Would that be a pro to you or would that put you off?
I think having downloadable games, like, they just make life easy, but we talked about this before because I talk about this when it comes to music and stuff. Like, most people use Spotify and things like that now, but it just kind of dawns on me that I listen to so much stuff on Spotify, which is why I like it, because I can listen to so much. But if for any reason my Spotify account was just to disappear and stuff, there's all my music, like all my playlists and stuff that I'd made and all this type of thing. Like, I can't just go in and like get them back. So I would be the same way for like gaming and stuff as well, I think, because it's like you spend so much time like getting to certain stages of games or building up specific parts, and you put so many hours into it just for it to just disappear. Like, I would feel really deflated if that was the case. I think for me with Spotify, I think I pay about 17 quid a month for a family plan because I've got my baby nieces on it. One's bloody 19 and one's 22 and just qualified as a nurse. I'm still paying for them on Spotify. Got Carla on it, Jackson at me, her dad. But that £17 a month, I used to spend far more on physical CDs a month. But I'm probably not going to explain this very well, but I get so much out of Spotify a month that what I'm spending on it doesn't feel as bad as if I'd spent, I don't know, 60 quid on a game and like someone, like, I don't know, if I had like something like my account deleted, because I believe you can get your account, I'm like for swearing and getting angry with stuff. Could you imagine me on a game getting frustrated with someone online and what I might say have my account deleted, but no, all my games, because games are really, really bloody expensive now. I mean, computer games have always been expensive, to be fair. I can remember
Mega Drive games being around the £30 mark. What have we got there? Kat says, problem with digital games on Switch is if you don't like the game, you can't return it. So kind of a chance thing with wasting your money. That's a really good point that had never crossed my mind. I suppose for Spotify, it's a service. You don't like a CD, you don't like an album, you just skip to another one. You've paid for the service. But with it, I had never even considered that. That's that's something.
Because GeForce has just said exactly the same that I was like, but what happens if Spotify got deleted after all cataloguing songs and setting playlists? This is like, even though I had iTunes, right, I could make playlists and everything like that, but I could actually download, because I'd bought that music, you could download that music from your iTunes onto like an external hard drive on your computer. So I used to always like download my playlists from iTunes to save a copy. And I've still got some of them, like to this day, like some of the ones that I completely put together. But if Spotify was just to disappear, I'd lose all of that.
Yeah, I mean, when me and Carla first got iPods, I remember I'd go in places like HMV that have like free CDs for a tenner. I'd buy the CDs, I'd come home, I'd physically load them onto iTunes, often have to type the track names in on them and find the art. But yeah, you're right, I owned the physical copies. I was just transferring them to the more mobile medium, so I had the physical backup. Just want to say hello there
there's a few
quick hello to
Gap.
Sorry about that. You do the hellos, Kim. I always do the hellos. You can do the hellos.
We were just saying hello to Gap, and we've got Delvian's coming as well.
Seek. Hello, Delvian. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Gap.
We've just had a couple of new people come in, so I just wanted to say hello to them. And I think we're up to date with everything on that.
There was one
GeForce
comment
is asking me questions that I don't know the answers to.
But bring the question up. Maybe I might know the answer. You never know. Do they have backup systems? They have to, right? I
don't think they have to.
They probably do have some form of backup.
No, but guys, look what happened last Friday with Microsoft and CrowdStrike. I think we can all just agree that not everybody has a backup.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? With the decline of physical media. Look, if everything went tits up tomorrow and there was a power outage, there's always going to be people who are going to find a way of generating power and getting their old CD player or their record player or their tape player working. But if the internet is gone, if the internet is down, and you haven't got... Because like Spotify, for example, if you can download tracks on Spotify so you can listen offline. I've got loads of playlists I've made on Spotify because sometimes I'm working in the arse end of nowhere and I just cannot get signal. So I've got quite a few playlists. But if for some reason 1 month I didn't pay for premium or whatever, I wouldn't be able to access those. Or again, if my account got deleted, like you say. So it goes back to what you were saying, Kim. So it does get scary when you see things like what happened last week with Microsoft and you think, wow, we really are at the mercy of a computer. Everything is at the mercy of the computers. And I guess that is the thing. We just do not have the backup. And that's why, physical media is really your friend. But I'm just as guilty of going digital myself because it's become easy and I've become lazy. It's convenient. Now an album comes out, I go on Spotify, I can listen to, like when the last System of a Down music came out, whenever that was, probably a couple of years ago now, because time just flies by. I was excited because I could listen to it there and then. But what's funny saying about that, I always collected System of a Down's albums. I've got them all. But I've stopped buying CDs that I would put in the collection. And that's sort of a shame as well. So, especially System of a Down, they had some awesome artwork on a couple of their albums,
Like, physical media contributes to a lot of stuff. Like, we talk about the fact that we just don't collect physical media. But I think also you have to remember that musical artists and stuff like that, their success was measured on people physically going out and buying copies of their music. Like, I find it really difficult now for people to say, oh, so-and-so's taken over Elvis, or so-and-so's taken over Michael Jackson, or so-and-so's done this. And I was like, yeah, but they've got streaming. I don't think they should really be classed as like taking over somebody in a number of record sales, because they haven't actually done that. They've just had their songs streamed a lot, whereas like people literally lined up out the door waiting to physically buy somebody's media.
You went nutty. You went nutty about the Beyonce thing and the Michael Jackson thing. You had a right rant at me. Do you want to fill people in on that little rant? Go on, have your rant.
They basically turned around and said that Beyonce is now the most famous person ever because she's completely outsold Michael Jackson. And I was like, well, she's not actually outsold Michael Jackson, because most of her music is just streamed now. It is literally streamed. It's not physical copies that's been bought. You cannot tell me that Beyonce actually managed to get millions of copies bought like in one day, like on the day it released. You're not telling me she's done that, compared to like Michael Jackson, who literally has had his album sell out in multiple countries all over the world on the day of its release. You're not telling me that any musical star to date has actually had that, because people don't do it. They're like, oh, it's come out on Spotify, I'll just listen to it. That's not physically buying it. That's not physically going out and supporting, really. I think I heard that people get like 60-something p per stream. So
and
I
you're
don't
right.
think
People don't have to make the effort. Yeah,
you can't compare.
Yeah, I have to say, Kim, this actually came up the day I proposed the idea for this subject, and Kim had you're lucky, because I had the full 20-minute rant. It was epic. I wish I recorded it. It was really cool. She was not a happy bunny. She was not. I was actually the day after we did the MySpace podcast, wasn't it? You were proper annoyed by that.
Yeah, but it's but it's it's the same when we were talking about like when Will Smith was actually doing rap and stuff like that. People had to physically go out and buy his music. Like, people just don't do that now.
Stu says, I'm not 100% sure, but if you download media, you don't actually own it and it's not yours, even though you have paid for it. Am I right? I think I'm probably completely wrong, or I could be wrong. I could be right. I don't know. I think you are just paying for a service to have access to it. You don't, because there's this funny thing, isn't it? It's like, no,
so
carry on, Kim.
There's two sides. So to me, there would be two sides to Stu's question, right? If you're talking about Spotify and downloading from Spotify, then no, you don't actually own it, because you're paying for the streaming service that is Spotify, that allows you to stream multiple pieces of music, have unlimited downloads, and not have any ads in between that. However, if it's things like iTunes, you are in fact actually buying the song. So you were just buying a digital copy of the song. So therefore it was yours and you did own it, because you could download iTunes and not actually pay for iTunes. You were paying for the songs. You weren't paying for iTunes as a service. So there's a difference whether you're paying for a streaming service or you're paying for the physical song. So iTunes you could just install and then download, which I then downloaded onto my hard drive, so I owned the music. I can't do any of that on Spotify.
Because we are going to go a little bit into piracy in a minute. So, Gap, I love including the chat. When we used to pre-record this, we didn't have you guys to bring things along, but it's great because you're here now. It's like, I don't have to find a segue. Gap says, I download stuff off my iTunes onto backup disk, including my TV shows, movies, and music books. And I was going to say about, because there's a thing, if I buy a physical CD or DVD or Blu-ray, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, keep me honest here, guys, I can make copies of that for personal use. I can't make them for Kim. I can't make them for other people, but they are mine. And that was one of the controversies back in the day about people loaning out CDs, and you were never going to keep up. I mean, look, back in the day, I mean, there's people on here who used to have Commodores and Spectrum computers, and people would literally burn copies of games onto the old floppy disks. That's where the piracy thing comes in. And of course, piracy now, we've started talking about Spotify and the streaming services. Kim, do you want to go a little bit into LimeWire and Napster? Sort of what kicked off this piracy thing, and that the sort of the pre-days of having the services of Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music and the like.
Yeah, so I wasn't a big user of Napster. I did use LimeWire a lot, to be fair. So I don't know if anybody's got sort of blast from the past on using LimeWire or Napster, but this basically, this stemmed off the huge big copyright and everything, and I think Metallica actually ruined it for everybody in the nicest way. Because LimeWire, people were just
Metallica.
putting on
I've got a
versions
complaint
of the
about
music,
them and a rant
you
in
could
a
like
minute.
You could download and stuff from LimeWire and have the versions of their music. You used to have to like figure out which versions were the decent versions for you to actually download from LimeWire, and things like that, which was quite good. Whereas Napster, I think, was more just peer-on-peer transferring of music. So like if somebody had a song, like you could share it with your friends and colleagues and stuff like that through Napster. Whereas LimeWire was a little bit different. Like you could get all sorts on there from lots of different people. So Napster actually got shut down in not even that long ago. It actually got shut down in 2021. It was only like 3 years ago. Because an injunction was granted with the Recording Industry Association of America. However, being able to like download and store and share songs is still popular to this day, and people have obviously found ways around it. But it all started because of Metallica and stuff. However, interesting fact about Napster is one of the co-owners of Napster, Sean Parker, at the time of the court case, he was only a minor, so he never actually got sent to prison for piracy or copyright or anything like that. So instead of jail, he just got given community service because he was so young at the time. So as much as they got an injunction, Metallica got what they wanted, they didn't actually serve any time for it. And fun fact, LimeWire is actually still around. It's just not for music anymore. It is... It is now an AI art generator for images and audio content and videos. Is what it's used for now.
What, have they diversified, or has someone brought the domain name? I'm shaking my leg again, Stu. You've made me really nervous about this.
So I think basically somebody bought the domain name and changed it round because the replacement for LimeWire, there was a spin-off called FrostWire that still exists today in a slightly different format. I don't know if anybody else used LimeWire, but a lot of people used to say when you use LimeWire that you used to like basically fill your computer with viruses. However, they did do an experiment on this, and they said one investigation showed that out of 123 randomly selected download files, 37 contained viruses, so about 37, like 30%. But I remember people's computers used to just die from downloading from LimeWire because there used to be loads of viruses in it. And this was before like heavy-duty antivirus and stuff. But I used to download loads of stuff from LimeWire.
I have no personal experience with LimeWire. We had like, my sister had like one of those Apple, it looked like a monitor. It had the app, it was an Apple, her boyfriend of the time, who became her husband, gave her his old Apple Mac thing. And I could occasionally use that on dial-up back in the day. But my friend Jim, I remember buying on eBay like a 15 or 20 pound little MP3 player, cheap as chips, nothing like the quality of like a iPod. I remember used to put like 1 or 2 AAA batteries in it. I used to give it to my friend Jim and tell him what I wanted on it, because it didn't have the, I think it didn't have the biggest capacity. It could fit maybe 10 albums on it or something. And Jim was into all this stuff, so he would just go and like drop the tracks on it for me, or I'd pop round and we'd do stuff on it, like put the songs on it. You saying about Metallica earlier. Metallica really annoyed me in the past, because I can appreciate artists being unhappy that their music is being ripped off. No one should be ripped off, right? Fair enough. But where Metallica crossed the line for me was when they started kicking off about tablature sites. And if you don't know what they are, people like me back in the day who were young budding musicians and wanted to learn to play songs, or as much as I actually did learn to read music, I just never used it because I was too lazy. But tablature is a very simple, poor man's version of music. Very simple to understand. It doesn't have the time signatures, whatnot, but it gives you a guide on how to play the song. Now, Metallica argued and tried, and I believe successfully did get some of these tab sites shut down, saying that people were stealing their work by kids going on the internet and making these tabs, these little sheets of music to show you what chords or notes to play. And that's when I was like, really, guys? Because I'm not stealing your work if I work it out myself. So that was one of the things that kind of bugged me with Metallica. I'd love to know how I got a fly in this room. Go away, fly. Yeah, that was one of the things with Metallica. But no, I never had that. It was something I had friends who used Pirate Bay. I'm sure there's people in the chat here who used Pirate Bay. Oh my God, I bet there were. And I know that was pretty tasty for giving you viruses, from what I'm told, because I would never have used Pirate Bay, obviously. Just this comment here from a long time ago. Torrents, the good old days, saved me thousands of pounds. Back in the day, and Sai saying, LimeWire changed it all for me. The days, but that's
I was I was laughing at Kat's comment about it as well, because she'd I remember this, LimeWire, how disappointing waiting 14 hours for a song only to get a crappy remix. I've been there. You download it thinking you're getting the proper one, and then it's just like, no.
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously I never used any illegal torrent sites, but had I have used them, it would have been the day of broadband, where such problems would not have bothered me. G says, AOL dial-up internet. Kids today would lose their minds waiting an hour for a picture in an article. Was it for a picture in an article, G? Or was it one of those artistic pictures? Was it one of those artistic pictures you share in the group chat sometimes, mate?
Do you know what, though? Kids these days will, I think it's probably all ingrained in our brains what the dial-up tone sounds like. And sometimes I feel it might give people nightmares, because you knew exactly what the right tone was to mean that you got connected, and you were like, yes, I got connected, that's fine. Or it was like, get off the internet, you need to use the phone, or get off the phone, I need to use the internet.
I think I said this on the last podcast we did, but I had a friend who when Star Wars Episode 1 came out, it was a ridiculous amount of time, a day or two, possibly more, downloading the trailer for the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and people just sort of stuck with it. But so we're all sort of destined to go from, look, LimeWire and that may have been illegal and that, but obviously this then people are going digital, so clever people like Spotify and that and all the streaming services, they get into it because, although I will say, who remembers when Netflix was a DVD, online DVD rental service before you streamed? I think everyone here will probably remember that, because we're all all my age, but there's only a couple of younger people like you, Kim, in here. Not saying that we're old, anyone. Don't be offended by that.
I used to have Netflix and DVD that came through your post box. I'm not that young.
Well, you always like to lord it over me that you are younger than me, so
I am younger, but I still remember.
Wow.
It's not like I'm 20.
I've got some notes here on Spotify for when that actually happened. Not Spotify, Netflix. God, there's too many services. Netflix. Oh, I can't bloody find the note. I think it was around 2007 they went from DVDs to streaming. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I have absolutely got it in the notes, but I swear I'm
started
going blind
in
tonight.
1997.
I found it now. Netflix was founded in 97. And 1997 Netflix started. Now, I didn't
Yeah.
I should have read my notes,
I
shouldn't
was 7 years old. I was 7 years old.
And started streaming in 2000. So Netflix started off as a very physical-based company and has become a very digital-based company. So clever them for unlike Blockbuster, going with the, moving with the times. Goji. Old, I'm ancient. No, you're not, mate. You're not ancient, Goji. You're just well matured and a bit weathered. That's what we'll say. What's this comment here about AOL? G4 says, dial-up internet. Kids today would lose their minds waiting an hour for a pic. Oh, we've already read that one. Sorry, my apologies. I swear, I'm just having a night of it tonight. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. That's because I jumped up for Goji's comment. Goji, GeForce, your next 8 purchases are only $29.99 each. Because G put Columbia House 10 cassettes, CDs for a penny. Oh man, I mean, I do miss the days of physical media. Before I go into my little reminisce before we wrap this up, Kim, what was the really cool story you told me about piracy? You've done a slide on it. I can see the slide in the studio. Do you want to tell the story? Because I was taken back by this.
Steal a car. You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a handbag. Yeah, so do you know how I found out about this? This happened sitting on my phone going through stupid reels, like on Instagram, just like going through the stupid shorts, and this came up, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know that was a thing."
Just to say, for anyone who didn't see this outside of the UK, there was like an advert on VHS tapes, and no, I don't know if it was on VHS, but it was certainly on DVD. And you used to get this thing, DVDs, and I had this track, and I can't play it on here because Kim will go into the reason in a minute. And the soundtrack used to sound like dun 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 dun. Yeah, that's really bad. But yeah, I've got to keep it bad. Don't want to get copyright claimed. Anyway, so yeah, they'd have this advert and it would show all these scenarios, like Kim said. You wouldn't steal a car. Then it would show someone going into it. You wouldn't. The problem is, and I will say here, is there's a show called The It Crowd, or the IT Crowd, as I call it, and they did a parody of this advert, and it was like, you wouldn't mug a granny. You wouldn't steal a policeman's hat and then shit in the policeman's hat and return it to his So anyway, I'm on a tangent. But yeah, no. So we used to get this thing, and ultimately at the end of the advert, there was this girl, she's downloading the stream, and she just magically decides morally it's wrong and stops the download. So Kim, I've destroyed your thing now, so try and resurrect and save it.
But so what I find, like, I thought this was amazing when I found out about this. Like, everybody remembers this advert, right? And everybody remembers the music, because it was every single time. But we talk about musicians not wanting their stuff copyrighted, people like doing films and all this stuff, they didn't want their stuff copyrighted, all these big organizations that sue people. But the music for this advert was done by a Dutch musician in 2006. He composed the music exclusively for an anti-piracy advert just to be used at a local film festival. However, the following year, he purchased a Harry Potter DVD and was shocked to discover his music being used on this anti-piracy ad without his consent. And I'm sitting there like, these big ass corporations sued people for making piracy copies of music and stuff, and they bloody well did it themselves and did it on a global scale. It's unreal. It's just copper calling kettle black. It's ridiculous.
Remember,
it's the best piece
of
information.
Don't do as we do,
I've
do
had
as
in
we
ages.
say. Like,
it's just
you
like,
got,
it's so...
They're all laughing in the chat about that. Palps, but the irony. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're being preached to, don't do league. Someone here put, piracy pays for terrorism, etc. Yeah, it was all these statements like that to make you like Do not illegally download. Piracy. Look, I've been in bands. I've released albums and stuff. We actually ended up we were on a label, never made any bloody money, and to say sod it to the label, we actually put all our songs on. The guy in our band uploaded them so people could have them for free. If we weren't making money, they weren't making money, sort of thing. But anyway, that aside, all these things, and then they go and do that. I mean, that's the ultimate piss take, isn't it? Palps puts piracy alerts aliens to our presence.
To be honest, I worry about what aliens think about us on Earth. I really do.
Piracy makes Thanos snap. You keep them coming, I'll keep reading them. Come on then, little competition before we wrap up. I want the best piracy makes. So everyone now, if you can be bothered, put your best piracy makes in the chat, and I'll read them out, and and me and Kim will pick which one we think's the best.
We'll decide
Go on.
which one's the best. Come on.
And if you don't do it, Palps is going to win by default. So, yeah. Going on the. It's sort of been a bit of a trip, hasn't it? It is really just a trip down. I like G's one. I see if a couple more come in. Piracy makes Jack a dull boy. Nice reference. Oh dear, what else? Come on, someone else has got to come in here because it's 2-horse race at the moment. Perhaps. Piracy makes lightsaber crystals bleed. Very nuanced.
It was going to happen. You put it out there.
Piracy makes me wet. Piracy makes Disney Star Wars better. No, we can't have that. I don't think there's anything going to make that better. The thing is, I'm going to have to let Kim pick because my favourite. I know my favourite one, and it will just seem like favouritism. I can't. How to derail a podcast stream in seconds. Hand it over to the lunatics in the asylum.
To be fair, I don't know. I can't really choose. And to be honest, the only reason I don't want to choose Monkey Boys is he had to take it down a level, didn't he? He had to take the nice conversation and he just had to take it below the belt. Literally.
I've laughed at them all. I can't. I love Monkey Boys and it made me chuckle massive, but I can't pick it because it's obviously co-host of Lame and it will look like absolute bias on my part. So, I'll tell you.
To be fair, I do quite like this one.
Piracy alerts alien star prep. Yeah. All right. Chief Gap. Piracy makes G-Force wins. Right.
I'm going to say they all win because they've given us a good laugh.
Yeah, that's the fairest way. You've all made us. It's like a modern day sports day. There's no losers. There's a participation award, and you all win.
Does this mean we'll give them a participation sticker? You participated.
Although
well done.
G does say, I agree. Palp's original was good. Palps, it was going to go to you, but we decided that we're going to be modern. Piracy makes Nick bounce his leg. Piss off, Joe. Do you know what? A combination of nervousness and sciatica. You know, the struggle's real here. We spent all night saying these kids will never understand. These kids will know. I tell you what, these kids will understand one day. They'll understand bloody sciatica and nervous, twitchy leg, and then come to me and say it.
Everyone gets a piracy sticker.
Yay.
Okay.
Read that, Kim. I just can't pronounce that word.
He's not even said it right. He was meant to say participated, but he's boot.
Yeah, I precipitated.
Precipitated.
Precipitated. Yeah. I think that's what. Yes.
Oh.
Rained. I think.
Why are we confusing my brain? Like, so that's like when somebody says to me, "Oh, I'm reading the destructions instead of reading the instructions."
Oh, what, destructions? When they say I'm reading the destructions?
Yeah.
My mum says that, and it really annoys me.
My family said,
I'm reading the
destructions. Like, I'm reading the destructions, and I'm just like, what?
Piracy makes A5 very bad films of the Caribbean. Okay. I think you're all winners. Oh God, it's really hot in this room. This LED light, and do you know, I insulated all this room for sound, and it was cold when I did it. And now I'm starting to realise the all this soundproofing is like thermal insulation as well, and I'm actually sweating. So, what's Palp say here before we wrap this up? Don't mention destruction. Memory of Death Star. Well, don't leave an obvious. Don't let rebels steal a plan, or hire someone who's against you. Anyway, Joe, are you in? You know full well I'm in the Harry Potter cupboard, Joe. You know full well that's where I am. Right, Kim. Closing thoughts. I think we haven't followed our notes at all. We haven't followed the show structure one bit. And that's the great thing with the audience. You guys have brought us through.
I'm sorry. You wouldn't be sweating if you kept your legs still.
Right. That's how it's going to go, is it?
I love that.
That's how this is going,
like,
is it?
Totally ripping into you today. That's great.
Oh, dear. Well, you'll get it. It'll come round for you, mate. It'll come round for you.
No, everybody likes me too much. They wouldn't be that mean.
Anyway, I got a cough now. One moment. I'm going to cough and then vape.
You should have imitated.
Oh, do what Monkey Boy does when I cough, make the coughing sound so it's pointless me muting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Nick, no, we're not allowed to bring socks in this cupboard. It could encourage bad things. Right, Kim, any final thoughts? Because we're just going to sit here laughing about piracy things and taking the piss out of my shaky leg, which I'm fine with. I am fine with it, but... we have done the subject, so what do you want to say?
Do you know what? I find how I feel about physical... Do you know what? I find it really ironic. I find it really ironic that I agree that I think we should... So just put out there, like, I work in digitalization, like that is what my job is. So I find it really ironic that I'm going to sit there and say that the digital world is maybe not everything that it's cracked up to be. I do think it's a wider subject that, like, technology is happening and improving and advancing like way too fast for us and stuff like that. So I do think there is space for us to pay more attention to physical media and having that at home and opening that up to people and actually physically having something and physically owning something for me. So I think there's a place for streaming and there's a place for digitalization, but I also think that there's a place for physical media. And I think it just depends what you're looking at. Like, vinyls are becoming huge again. Like, just how people prefer, like, how it sounds and stuff compared to, like, streaming. Streaming is convenient, but if you're actually somebody that sits at home and listens to stuff, then I think vinyl is the way to go. So I feel like there's a place for both, and I think they're both just as important as each other. So I hope that, like what Palp said, I'm hoping that physical media is kind of going to come up a little bit. So I think there's a place for both. I think there's place for physical and there's a place for digital. Those are my serious thoughts, guys. While Nick was laughing, you know, it's fine.
I was reading the comments. TJ said, last comment here from TJC says, from a different point of view, having everything digital gives the manufacturers and artists more control. Yeah, and there could be that
100%.
to it. But what I'm going to say is I've got nothing more to add to what you've just said, Kim, because you've just said it more efficiently and quicker than I could have said it. So I think we're on the same page there, mate, to be honest.
We have agreed. We agreed?
Yeah, we've agreed. I've had the piss ripped out of me tonight, and I've agreed with you, so...
We've had a
good laugh.
The stream was in my favour.
Well, there you go. Take the win.
Take the win. You got the giggle fits in the last stream, and we've done it again.
I always get giggle fits. Don't think I've dropped any F-bombs tonight though, which is good. Normally drop one or two. Yeah. Oh, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat for coming along. Links to all our socials are in the video/stream description on YouTube. This episode will, at some point in the next week, be uploaded to Spotify or your preferred podcast provider to keep it in the theme of the digital age. It's been great having you here. You've been great. Look, guys, the chat's been banging tonight, and you've really... The chat has been so good tonight that you basically went along with what our note points would have been. So you've just made our life really easy, to be fair. So it's been great. We always enjoy having you. Thank you for showing out in force as per usual. We are going to be back soon. I'll drop a date for that and whatnot. Coming up in the next few weeks, there is going to be another episode of Live Moderately Entertaining with me and Monkey Boys Toys. We'll reveal the subject of that shortly, and me and Kat have already let the cat out of the bag, no pun intended. Me and Kat will be returning in a few weeks with another stream on the 1980s Flash Gordon movie, which she thinks is ridiculously cheesy, and I absolutely love, and I'm looking forward to that one. So, been amazing to have you all here. I'm just laughing at Blue Sasquatch's thing. That was the other stream with Scuba Pete with the sharks. But no, great to have you here anyway. Great to see you all. And I think at this point, unless you've got anything else to say, Kim, shall we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
So let's do the really awkward wavy thing until the stream ends and say thank you very much, guys, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.